This week on RSBANDB Update, Farming 120, Herblore 120, and the Ranch Out of Time is here. We look at the ranch, reputations, and recipes, plus a run down the Yak Track looking at its tasks and rewards. This is RSBANDB Update, episode 753, recorded Friday, November 29th, 2019. The Deeds at the Ranch at a Time. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another episode of RSBANDB Update. This week, it's a jam-packed one, and there's lots of news we want to discuss. And there's only so much that we can fit into the podcast, so we're going to do our best to fit this all in. But Tanis, you're here as you are each and every week. Welcome back.
Thank you, Shane.
And joining us to discuss this monumental skill update, 2 skills to 120, a new piece of content, and a revamp of the monetization scheme is Sirion. You're here too.
Hello.
And of course, for anybody who missed the memo, I am Shane12088 in-game, and chat with me there. It's always fun. But, big update this week. This week is, capturing what we saw at the RuneScape keynote, talking about farming and Herblore 120. The Yak Track also came out this week, and we have a number of other dev blogs that we're capitalizing on this week as well. And, of course, your guys' questions and tech news if we get time for it. But nonetheless, all of that will be in the show notes at update.rsbnb.com. We invite you to look there, read with them, follow along with us as we go, and we're gonna dive right into this new skill or rather big skill update. It felt like a new skill launch to me. Did it feel like a new skill launch to you guys?
I can't say it was the same as like the mining and smithing was, because that was just more of a fundamental change.
Right, because that was top to bottom as well.
Yeah.
I think it's the discovery aspect for me that's doing it. This
was like, I hate to say it because I really love this skill, but I feel like this is kind of what 120 Slayer should have been. I'm sorry, I hate it. I love 120 Slayer, but it probably would have been better if it was more in the lines of this. Yeah.
I think we can all agree on that because, we only had a handful of unlocks for 120 Slayer. We got lots of stuff in here. So much so that I had intended this week to do a early Patreon feature where, when I'm putting together the monthly or the weekly bite, for example, or maybe from this show doing some of the research. Along with that, I intended to, have a live stream showcasing that. But just the way the inherent nature of the farming skill is with the produce, I wasn't able to do that because I didn't have much of the produce, and I still don't. Just to give everybody a bit of an idea, I picked up a Bagretta Rex egg a few weeks back during the pre-launch event, and then one of our fellow clan questers, Kebab Thief, had a female egg. So the deal is that I would take both eggs, put them in the breeding pen, breed them together, and we would have a little bit of a joint custody agreement going on until we each got 2 dinosaurs out of it. And we're still waiting for that to happen because I put these eggs into the breeding pen mere minutes after the update launched, and they're still adolescent, or at least they were a few hours back when I last checked.
So this stuff is so slow that you can actually get paid by studying your dinosaur out?
I guess, yeah.
Hell.
That's what we're waiting for. That's how slow these big dinosaurs are taking to grow. So,
wow. Shane's going to be a pimp.
Oh, boy.
I guess it's a tier above dragons, right? So
yeah.
It's always to be expected.
And we know how huge they are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolute units. Absolute units. But this time at the Ranch Out of Time, you don't get any pens to start off with. You need to build all of your own pens, and this includes the breeding pen. So you pay for the deed in terms of beans, and you also need to use the
pay for the deed, the dirty deeds that happen.
Done the cheap.
Well, the deed has been done already. But each of them costs a certain number of material from the Anachronia base camp in terms of wood, vines, and stone. The breeding pen takes 100,000 of wood, vine, and stone. The large pens each take 75,000 wood, vine, and stone. The medium pen, yes, medium pen, singular, takes 25,000 of those, and the small pen, 1,000 of each. So you're going to want to keep that Anachronia base camp going on that one and checking in as you were when you were building it. So I just want to take a bit of a moment and talk about the animals that are available at the Ranch Out of Time because of this. And, you know, I don't know if this is just me or if this is everybody feeling this, but in general, I felt that there's really not much to look at for the Jadinkos, for example, because you put Jadinkos in the pen, they grow up, they give farming XP, and then lo and behold, they give the vine that you would get when you were hunting them. So I don't know what I'm going to put if I'm ever going to farm a Jadinko again, and I'm just putting this out there on that front.
It does seem rather pointless. I haven't seen any way that's being tied into anything. Have you, Shane?
No.
Yeah.
No.
But that being said, you know, if you look at cows, they will give you cowhide. Like, why would you
right
farm cowhide?
Why would you expect
I think the actual produce of the different animals have very limited use anyway. So
It's
only until you get to the big ones that it actually matters in that case.
So it's just occupying an XP tier, then essentially like how
That's
the BLF farm did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In your small pens, you can put frogs and salamanders. Salamanders obviously give the goods that they give when you hunt them for using them as ranged weapons. Frogs give poison slime, which is used in one of our Herblore potions, which we'll get to later. And you can also put the medium inside the medium pens, the Varanosaurs, which are dropped from Slayer on Anachronia. And those ones actually do give something useful. I forget which it is. We'll get to there when we look at the produce on there. So I think that's a good time to do that unless you guys have any questions about any of the animals in the Ranch Out of Time.
I do.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
have a really important one. Is it only the breeding pen that they're going to breed in?
You can purchase
have the same?
upgrades to allow breeding in all the other pens too.
Okay.
Yep.
So one of the thing I have with the new animals, right, is and this is something I have found with all of Anachronia really. We are super familiar with like cows and rabbits and chickens and pigs and all that stuff.
Chinchompas?
So okay, they're a bit weird, but each of the animals that you can get in the player-owned farm is super unique and characteristic, right?
Right.
And the thing with the Ranch Out of Time is it feels very samey. There's like 10 different kinds of dinosaurs you can get, but, you know, show me one. I couldn't tell you the name, and I think that is something that is holding me back from really enjoying the Ranch Out of Time. Like, there's less sort of... It's more out there and less imaginative of, you know, I actually have a farm. I think that's a bit of a shame. Because, yeah, I feel it doesn't have the same feeling, if that makes any sense.
Right, and you see that as well because the dinosaurs themselves can only breed within their species.
Mm.
And if you look at the total number of produce that you can get, aside from, you know, the vines and the whatever other one it is, the poison slime, you got beak snot, bottled dinosaur roar, dinosaur claws, and spark chitin. So you got 4 different kinds of main produce coming from the farm on this front. The spark chitin comes from brutish dinosaurs as well as anything that's tops, like Aciotops or Malatops. The beak snot comes from anything that's a bird, so pterosaurs. Anything that's a pterosaur gives that. And then the rexes, of course, give bottled dinosaur roar in terms of their
so at least
produce.
At least that's sort of a system, but in the end, this is very made up and somewhat arbitrary. Whereas if you look at the player-owned farm, a cow will give cowhide and milk, which I can imagine, and that's how it works in real life. So it's much more intuitive versus the Revenge Out of Time, where I think it's much more a learned thing as to sort of learning which belongs to which I think it adds like an extra obstacle to getting to know it and really engage with the content in a more direct way, which I have a hunch it's not going to be as successful as the player-owned farm because of that reason. It's less something you can easily role play almost. It's not the right word maybe, but I can put myself into the shoes of a farmer at the player-owned farm, but I could never imagine myself being like a Jurassic Park kind of person. So that's sort of there's a lot of stuff that happens in farming and Herblore past 120 where it sort of leaves the realm of the imaginable and sort of becomes a list of ingredients.
Yeah, and I think also what you're describing is the interaction gap on this, because like I said, I popped these 2 eggs in the breeding pen on Monday, and last I checked, about 8 hours ago or so, give or take, they were still adolescent.
Yeah.
So the big dinosaurs are going to take a long time to grow up and then presumably breed along with that. But each of the little bottled dinosaur roars that I got, 100K each, a couple days after.
What are they using those for?
That's one of the Herblore potions. We'll get to that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I am very interested in where the prices are actually going to settle.
Yeah, me too.
I think I think it's going to take 6 months at least before, especially with these things taking over a week to actually start getting stuff. I think it's going to take over 6 months for us to actually see what is going to be profitable and what isn't.
Yeah, well, I've made about 25 mil since the update.
Jeez.
From farming. Not necessarily dinosaur farming, not necessarily primal extract, just herbs. So it puts a bit of a perspective on it. So anyways, also on the ranch out of time to get there, we didn't talk about this. There's 2 different ways you can get there. You can, of course, take the mystical tree on the west coast of Anachronia, which was showcased on the live stream, or you can go to the Farming Guild, which is the Old Manor Farm, go upstairs, and there's another mystical tree that you can use to teleport you to the dinosaur farm. And, this also speaks to the environment of it. It looks absolutely amazing. We're going to say that right off the bat, but this is also so much more spread out than the Manor Farm that if there's, no other people there, it feels kind of empty and kind of quiet compared to the Manor Farm.
It's befitting with the rest of Anachronia. That's much more spread out and empty than the rest of the world.
You think that's how it's supposed to feel?
I mean, we talked about this at length before. It feels like that's what they're going for. People have been asking for sort of the spreading out of the game world, making everything large, making the world larger. And I think Anachronia sort of was meant to do that, and I think Manor Farm is another of these things, but it feels out of place with the rest of the game. I still feel
it's
the
same
as
graphical thing that you're saying that you said. It's the same graphical thing that you said back then. Yeah,
exactly. It feels like a different game. It feels like a different style of environment, and everything is so far apart. It feels very un-RuneScape-y. So
But it looks nice.
It looks nice, yeah.
Yeah.
But
All right. Couple other things on the dinosaurs while we're on this track here. Of course, you're probably wondering about the various perks that you can get by putting the farm totems out. If you have apatosaurs, you get a 3% chance of extra meat when skinning big game hunter creatures, goes up to 5% at tier 2. Bagretta Rexes, 5% chance to conserve a bomb when thrown. Malatops increases the duration of barricade by 1.8 seconds per tier. So with 2 tiers on that, 3.6 seconds for barricade in terms of time that your barricade ability is up. That one could be pretty impactful, I think. And, there's no cost on that. You just need to have Malatops in one of your pens with the farm totem out, and you get that 1.8 second boost.
I mean, you say no
Good
cost.
tanky ability. A good tank ability.
Yeah, saves many people.
You say no cost, but the cost is the fact that you only have 4 pens, so you give up one of those pens to basically beating your ability. So
right, and if you were doing the big dinosaurs, the Apatosaurs, the Rexes, or the Malatops, you could be potentially giving up 2 pens if you want to get that boost times 2 to bring it up to 3.6. So, and this is much the same way that I have my mana farm set up, is that I'm not currently using my mana farm for XP. I'm just using it for generating dragon midair. So in theory, a PVMer could come forward and say that, hey, I want to grow some Malatops and just put these in my 2 large pens, and that's going to be the extent of what I'm doing with Ranch Out of Time, and I think that's okay.
Well,
Veranosaurus, 10% chance to make 4 doses instead of 3 when mixing weapon poison or anti-poison potions. That's a big one. And Corbicula Rex increases the critical hit chance of Meteor Strike by 20% per tier. I don't know anybody who uses Meteor Strike.
I was going to say, is that a ability that?
Yeah, that's. I believe it's the attack ultimate ability, or maybe it's the strength one. But I don't recall seeing it on many action bars.
No, I don't either.
So I think that's Ranch Out of Time and the animals in a nutshell. I don't know if there's anything else to say on this before moving on to the rest of 120 farming. What do you guys think?
So you've been doing the Ranch Out of Farm quite a lot. How do you find getting there to be? Like the only 2 times I've used the tree in the Manor Farm because I can teleport to the Manor Farm, go upstairs, use the tree, but that seems to be the only good way of getting there.
That's what I do. Because, otherwise, unless you're coming from Anachronia, moving even from just the base camp to that area, I think you could do, 1 or 2 agility shortcuts, but then the rest you got to run because it's outside of that core ring. So
is it near one of the totems? Because you can't place a teleport totem. I think.
That's a good question. Let's have a look on that. I got the map up here. Yeah, there is actually a totem that you could place just to the north.
So you could use that and then teleport there. Yeah.
But I mean, even then, it's a bit of a run still. So you'd have to do that. I think it's by the black butterflies on the west coast there. Or no, it's the red butterflies. That's there. So, I mean, there are ways to get there, and the Manor Farm is by far the easiest, I find, even though it's upstairs. So.
Oh.
But I am, of course, wanting to get to the Apatosaurs to pick up Beaksnot and whatnot. Yeah, I just said that we're looking for Beaksnot, but I'm looking for that for my own reasons, which will become clear when we get to the Herblore section of the podcast. But just to recap about where all the different Ranch Out of Time materials come from. Beaksnot comes from the Apatosaurs. The Dinosaur Roar comes from the Rexes. The Poison Slime comes from the Frogs. And the Spark Chitin comes from the Top Screechers. And I don't know where the Dinosaur Claws come from. I haven't been able to figure that one out yet. I'm guessing maybe the Brutish Dinosaurs, perhaps? because I haven't run into those. But
I don't know.
we'll have to wait.
You tell me.
We'll have to wait and see on that. Or maybe it's the Ripper dinosaurs. Yeah, because there's a Ripper dinosaur. Yeah, that would be it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. The Ripper dinosaur. There we go. See, isn't it amazing what you do when you think things through?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the rest of Farming 120 then, I have to talk about the farm requests at the Farming Guild in Manor Farm. Because I don't know about you guys, but I feel zero reason to go and do one of these farm requests.
The problem I have with them is that you need to provide like 3 different things. One of them is an animal, which I don't tend to save up my animals. And then the other 2 are random seeds or produce that, I don't tend to have lying around. So, especially if you look at the daily one, you have one day to get the stuff. That means you need to like check it in the morning, plant the stuff that you need to get, and then sort of like harvest it in the evening and give it to them. Like that's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
And if you give half the stuff and not the other half, you're out of luck, which it seems that it doesn't really pay off.
Right. And the easy one on day 1 was 22 limpwort seeds and 1 sheep, and you got 1,000 farming rep from doing that. The medium one for me on day 1 was 21 snapdragon seeds, 2 wild blood hops, and a Zenarian or Damon Cap Zygamite, which would have gave 15 Shifter, Ravager, Torture, or Spinner Charms. And the hard one on day 1 would have been 4 U seeds, 5 Calquit fruit, a Damon Cap Zygamite with Smelly, Robust, Virile, or Immune, and that would have given 1 Elite Clue Scroll.
Funnily, the hard one sounds the easiest to get by.
Right, but is it really worth doing that for 1 Elite Clue Scroll?
And the rep, right? You get base reputation for each of the
you do
farming requests.
But you also get reputation whenever you're just doing farming around the world.
Yeah, exactly. I found it actually, I don't really actively farm. I'm just checking my dragons, and I've gained at least 2 tiers already by just about once a day checking the health of my dragons.
Right. And my concern with this is that the next hard task, I really don't care too much about what's being asked of you to put into it. I think that side of the equation is fine. The next day, the reward for the hard task was 10 Elder Rune bars.
Yeah.
Does that feel useful to you guys?
You could probably get the 10 Elder Rune bars from scratch fairly easily, right?
No. That's what the reward for the task would have given you. It wasn't asking for Elder.
Yeah, but like can't you get the extra bars quicker than going through the whole process of doing this?
Yeah, and that was my point with this.
Yeah, no idea.
So, for me, the Farming Guild requests are a fun way to take things out of the economy, but I don't know if people are going to be doing this for the actual rewards of itself, aside from reputation. So,
if they wanted it to be a sync, they should have made it
more lucrative.
Easier to sync stuff into it. Yeah, no, not necessarily more lucrative, but it shouldn't require both like some weird seeds, herb seeds, and then some produce that, the combination of having all these things is becoming so unlikely. I think they should have just, instead of making it like a list, like a shopping list of 3 different things, should be much more like, give me either 20 of those seeds or 50 of those fruits or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's way more likely
because when you're
for
talking
people to...
about having traits Smelly, Robust, Virile, and Immune on a Zygamite or a Yak with that kind of
it means you
setup.
Basically need to start saving up all kinds of animals
and
you get lucky.
And a really interesting thing I saw about this is that when the system first launched, people were buying these zygomites, just the basic Zenarian zygomites for 4 millipop.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So, I mean, there might be a market in that, and it's bringing the value up of these animals, I guess, and taking the animals out of the game from our breeding problem we had. Because, going back to the farm changes that were made this summer, it was said, yeah, there's too many animals in game, and this is the solution to fix it. So, I think that is what this whole thing is set up to solve, and I mean, my question is just, are people going to do it? I don't know.
I couldn't do it.
Why
I couldn't
not?
do any of that stuff because DXP locked me out of any of this stuff this week.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was kind of unfortunate.
I'm not going to lie. I completely almost forgot Double XP was on after this arrived.
We probably would have used it on that anyway.
I don't need to, though.
I guess that's true.
All right, farming reputation. So there's a reputation system in here where at every level of reputation that you were mentioning, Sirion, you get extra little perks around the farm. Starting off, the first one at 4,000 reputation is you plant a 4th spirit tree at 114 farming, and the spirit tree is at the manor farm. So if you don't have the elite farming outfit, there's another way to get to the manor farm. Because if you have the 4th spirit tree planted, you have the spirit trees planted in all of the different locations in the world, as I do right now. Practiced farmer, hard farming requests will be available, and limpwort root yield is doubled, so that moves it from 3 to 6. I like that one, because for the longest time we weren't able to plant limpworts and bring them into game in any meaningful quantity, so that's good. Competent farmers at 25,000. The remote farm machine unlocks the farming guild, and shiny animals will sell for 10% more beans, and this remote farming machine is charged up by using the same runes that you would use for the remote farming spell, so you need to have unlocked that at the Lunar Island farming place. Expert farmer 75,000, less chance of animals getting ill, and small animal buyers will buy twice as many animals. Master farmer
cool.
at 225k unlocks Bloodwood tree at the farming guild, and medium animal buyers will buy twice as many animals. Senior master farmer at 1.1 million, a 5% increased chance of shiny animals being born, and large animal buyers will buy twice as many animals. And finally, the Grandmaster farmer at 2.5 million, all animals sell for 10% more beans.
So I have a question, right?
Sure.
This farming reputation, you get it on all farming?
Yes.
And you get it from level 1 farming?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Because
It's probably whatever the guild requirement is, right? So whatever the requirement for
Player
Manor Farm would be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would
which is
make
not
sense.
too high, I think.
No. It's like level
So-
20-ish.
The reason I'm asking is I unlocked tier 2 almost instantly. Like, I checked 2 dragon health, and I got the second tier, right?
Sure.
And one of the rewards for the second tier is unlock a 4th spirit tree,
Uh-huh.
which is great, but you need 114 farming for it.
Uh-huh.
How are you going to get 114 farming without getting this tier 2?
And I think a better question for that is, how are you going to get to 114 farming and not have the master farming outfit?
That too, yeah.
I mean, another way of looking at it is that putting the spirit tree here makes this the closest spirit tree to teleport to.
Yes.
Previously, that was the Grand Exchange in Varrock with the ring.
No, I understand that, but
Yeah.
like you unlock something, but the tier is not the bottleneck here. The bottleneck is the fact that it's 114 farming. Like this whole tier reputation system, it feels like most of it only makes sense to people who already had a really high farming level at the time this update came out. If you now make a new character, you are going to max out his reputation really quickly, way before the rewards actually become really relevant. Unless I understand it wrongly, but that's how it feels.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have the first-hand knowledge to confirm that you unlock the reputation with Manor Farm. I mean, for all we know, it could unlock at 99. Though, with that being said, it makes more logical sense, I think, to have it unlock with Manor Farm. Let's see if any knowledge has been imparted onto the RuneScape wiki about this, because this
I am already looking.
All right, and what do you got? Because, I mean, this is something that totally skipped my mind before we began here on this.
It does not say any requirements to start gathering it. You will not get farming for using a bunch of stuff. It will give, it will give per experience. So you can probably even do the math.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, even if you do the worst stuff, if you don't use mushroom clusters, which give really not a lot of reputation. Let's say that's not your primary method of farming.
Let's just say wood trees.
Wood trees?
Yeah.
Health checking
Yeah.
will give you 0.1 reputation for every 2 experience.
All right, so let's take a magic tree then. 13,768 XP.
So by the time you have the farming reputation maxed out, which is 2.5 million reputation, you will have gained 50,000 farming experience. That takes you halfway to 120. So you'll be about 113 farming, and then you will have maxed out your reputation. So, yeah.
And see, this is the concerning part for me, is that if I don't do the farm request and I just go that way, I'll be 200 mil by the time I want to max this out.
Yeah.
I'm 162 right now.
I mean, you can get more, right? There's like the Brassica Primer. You can get more reputation with the Voice of Saren. Like there's more ways of getting a reputation, but yeah.
Is this like, I don't understand, like, is that bad? Like, why is it bad?
Well, I don't think it's bad per se. I just think it's a bit roundabout, and it comes back to what Sirion was saying, how some of the things early on in this rep are things that should probably be positioned later on, like this 4th Spirit Tree at 114 farming. You said you'd be, 113 when you max out your reputation?
Well, that's when you max out, like when you're Grandmaster, right?
Right.
You will unlock this 4th Spirit Tree with 8,000 farming experience. I don't even know what number it gets, but that's...
That 4th Spirit Tree, though, it's like... I mean, it's junk, though, right? I mean, who cares?
Sure, but like, why are you getting a reward so early on that you then can't use until you're 114 farming?
Oh, okay. Well, I got you there. I was trying to figure out, like, okay, where's the problem for
also like
playing? That would be it.
At like 20,000 farming experience, which I don't know what will get you that, like 40 farming, like, from the top of my head, maybe
probably
about there, and all your limp route is now doubled.
Yeah, I think the doubling that I think is the actual real rewards, like getting them to take double the animals. That's huge.
But you need 26 farming to get limp routes in the first place. So, you know, it all feels a bit like this farming stuff. Unless it's something you start unlocking from 99 farming, it makes no sense for new players.
And the thing is, I can't even test this on the alt account because that's already 99 farming. All right. So that's the reputation side. So I think the reputation and the animal request system has some questions around it that might become more clear in later days. But right now, it's kind of the request system to me is a good way to take stuff out of the economy. But beyond that, you're not going to do it for the rewards. You're going to do it for reputation, which is probably how it was intended. So I just want to make that clear to everybody out there.
All right. Well, it sounds like you're gaining reputation anyway.
Yeah,
so
you are.
Why
all
bother?
The way through. All the way through.
Yeah.
These are like, this reminds me of that Minifoss, like, quest and stuff. But it does, doesn't it? Like, those really weren't, I mean, they're there, but there's not a good case to do them.
I just double checked. I'm actually wrong. If you just do normal trees, you actually get double the reputation per experience. So you only need 25 million farming XP if you only do trees.
Oh.
Huh.
Oh. But fruit trees are
Yeah,
0.1 for every 1 XP.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
you go.
Okay.
Fruit trees are worse, though.
Yeah.
But oh, no, sorry. I'm looking. No, health checking is half. Planting is. Oh, my gosh, yeah. This seems a bit arbitrary as well, but.
But did we get a meaningful guild?
No.
Like, yeah.
I don't think so.
I
mean,
think
Shane can correct me if he thinks I'm wrong, but I
need to get on. I need to get on the other character and see how it goes because I am skewed having 160 mil and not farming for XP anymore.
What I think is that these reputation things should be like. I feel it would be much better if these sort of unlocks would have been linked to sort of reputationing up your guild, upgrading your guild. It feels much more, remember the thieving guilds with the capers where you got like progressive upgrades? Something like that would have fit way better here. And the reputation system is fine, but I feel it should be much more linked to, growing your own guild. I think
that would have been
nice.
Much better. That would have been nice because looking at the Manor Farm, the only new additions we got to it with this 120 farming update are the farm requests, the reputation, and the tree to teleport, and of course the Bloodwood tree and the Spirit tree patch. But those are reputation bound.
And it's a hub, right? That's the good thing. It has become a hub.
And I mean, maybe that's the definition of a guild, and what a guild should be is just a hub for that skill.
Perhaps,
maybe. All right, and this obviously needs to develop, and I feel I can't give a honest opinion on what we've discussed here because I'm not farming for XP anymore on my main account, so we'll have to activate the alt again and see how that goes. And I have been looking for a reason to do that, by the way. So, yay. All right.
There you go.
Moving on from that, of course, we do have some new crops and new seeds for this. So, with this, a new cactus patch can be built in Anachronia, and you can also use it to grow dragon fruit and golden dragon fruit when you reach the appropriate level. I don't know where this is. That is one thing I wasn't able to notice on that, and maybe it's because I always put cactus patches to the background, but that's just the way it is. There's also new fruits as well, including avocados, siku, mangoes, guarana, lychee, and carambola. And these grow on bushes and trees, fruit trees rather. And, of course, mushrooms are stink shrooms and tomb shrooms as well. So,
and it might also be worth mentioning that, like, where you get these seeds from is killing grove creatures in the Lost Grove, clues, gift these seeds, you can pickpocket rogue captains.
That's the wilderness.
You can do big game hunter. slaying dinosaurs or harvesting your Jadinkos. So those are the ways of obtaining these seeds.
I think I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that the Grove Creatures, Dinosaur Slayer, and Jadinkos are going to be the best bet for this one. Because I did.
You can't get all of them there. So they're sort of spread out.
Yeah,
right?
they're spread out.
Grove Creatures will only give you dragon fruit, guarana trees, and avocado tree seeds. So
right, but the question then becomes with these is that you grind down all the fruit that you get, and it converts itself into primal pulp, which you use to make the primal extract, which is used in the new potions and elder overloads. So, in theory, there should be very little difference between an avocado and a mango.
It's the XP tiers again.
Right. It's
fruit trees
the level
normal
tier
trees
and the
are
XP tiers.
Wait a minute. The only way they can get the new overloads is from this new fruit.
Well, yeah, you got to grind down mangoes to get primal pulp. Then you make primal extract.
Well, this will be a good experiment to see if you can keep that stuff off of a drop table and keep the PVM community happy. Because I give it 2 months and it's all going to be on some drop table somewhere. There's no way people will be able to keep up. Skillers won't be able to keep up with
I think it will balance out. First of all, is it such a problem that the demand is low, and thus the prices of this thing will be super high?
No.
Maybe
I'm not sure the demand will
maybe
be
elder overloads are not a thing that everybody will always use all the time.
You're right.
And the PVMers can deal with that.
You're right.
No, dude, that's not how they work.
If they want max DPS, they got to invest in it. They will get more loot. That will in turn pay for it. That money will flow back. It's up to them to decide whether it's worth investing the extra money in elder overloads or not,
and
depending on how much extra loot they get.
An idea on this: I filled all my bushes with mango, and one bush was able to get me 42 primal fruit pulp, which sold for on Tuesday about 4.8k each, which was 200k from one bush.
Very crazy.
So people are buying it, and they're still buying it.
Oh, yeah, they're buying it. They'll keep buying it.
Oh, yeah, and I'm going to keep farming it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how long it will take before it hits the drop table, because it's got to be coming.
I'm hoping it doesn't, because I think it works this way.
I mean, I want it to. I just think this is going to be a really good experiment to see if what we've advocated for will actually be viable, in real life.
Yeah.
Because here it is. Here's our chance to see.
Here's our chance to prove that we can survive without major drops on drop tables.
Mm-hmm.
I think the current solution will work, and even if it doesn't work in an environment that we have right now, it will work if PVMers stop being too focused on always maximizing DPS. Maybe.
Oh, Jesus. If a frog had wings, wouldn't bump his ass on lily pads either there, Sirion.
I know. I know this is.
Well, the PVM community today or this week was saying that, aside from the elder overloads, there's really not much in this update that's useful for them.
Oh.
No, the elder overload selves, I assume. And the weapon potion plus.
3 pluses.
3 pluses. No, I think, if the demand is not, if the supply is not high enough, the prices will rise. And at some point, people will have to decide, is it still worth it? And at some point, we'll find a balance. And realistically, that balance is going to lie at the point where every PVMer is still going to buy it. And that will be fine. But perhaps the balance will lie at a point where you buy it if you are a crazy rich PVMer. And if you're just a PVMer, you might be okay just using overloads.
Or here's another use case for it, and we'll get to this even more in the Herblore side of it. You use this if you're a PVMer that makes his own stuff, or you're a lower leveled PVMer, but you have a high level in Herblore and farming.
Exactly. I mean,
an Iron Man?
Or that.
You said a single bush, right?
A single bush on Tuesday was worth 200 odd K. Yeah.
I'm not talking about number of K here. I'm talking about the number of primal extract you got out of that. 42.
Yeah.
That's 42 flasks, right? You make out of that.
42 flasks, yeah.
42 flasks last you a while. Like, if you do one bush a day, like, if you use more than 40 flasks of overloads a day, you should really go outside more. That sort of, you know...
You're right, though. You're right.
You know, they can really just... Like, I don't think that the supply is going to be an issue. One bush supplies one PVMer.
Oh, yeah. And for what it's worth, I mean, it's gone down to 1K per pulp right now.
So there you go.
So.
Okay.
But anyways, I just want to make two other notes on some of these things before we move on, and we'll talk about what these are all used for in the Herblore segment. But the stink shrooms are used to plant in a mushroom patch, and they give stink flies, which you can use to feed your frogs. And the tomb shrooms are used to get lots of mushrooms to help feed your zygomites, so that fixes the zygomite feeding problem that we had.
Yeah.
So.
Somebody really needs to make like a little arrow diagram for what feeds into what, because it's really hard to keep track of this.
You know, if I had a good little app or diagramming thing, I would.
I have a good app or diagramming thing for you, Shane.
Okay.
It's called pen and paper.
But how do I share that with people?
You take a picture of it. It's called a smartphone.
Oh,
Okay. And what if my
camera app? That's the app you're looking for.
What if
camera app?
What if my writing is not nice?
Then you load the diagram into Photoshop, and you override the little writings with little text bits. It's not rocket science.
All right. One final thing on the farming side, we, of course, talked about the money tree, which comes from crystal chests and Priff and the Triskelion chest and potentially bird's nest as well. Gives you, on average, at least a guaranteed 1 million GP. You plant this at the Manor Farm, so that's all nice and well. But there's also Mega Produce, which when you use a potion of harvest on them, you can produce vegetables like sweet potatoes, cannonball cabbage, red onions, heirloom tomatoes, white strawberries, rainbow sweet corn, and golden watermelon. And then all of these go in to make the various aspects of the primal feast, including the primal starter, primal main, and primal dessert. And then you use a cooking potion, get 115 cooking, and you can make a primal feast. And each primal feast has 4 bites to it, and each one heals 2,500 life points. So we're looking at 10,000 life points per inventory spot. And my early indications on this is that people aren't using this because I have a ton of the raw dinosaur meat and no one's buying it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it just me? But I kind of love that they had a cooking requirement higher than the skill is possible.
Yeah,
on something.
yeah, and it gives a use for that potion. I
thought it was... I mean, maybe it's not being used, maybe you're right, but I thought it was so clever and funny that existed.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, mangoes also go into the primal dessert, dragon fruit, which is another the fruit you can grow, golden watermelon, white strawberries we mentioned, potion of harvest. The primal main is heirloom tomatoes, red onion, malatops, and Pavosaurus rex meat. And the starter is rainbow sweet corn, cannonball cabbage, sweet potatoes, and raw oculi apatosaur meat. So a bit of everything from everything that farming has touched here on this one.
And I think that's probably why it's not being used.
Yeah, like because it's just
so much work to make
so much work to get. And the question, I think, and we should probably ask David on this, is where is this going to be used?
Well, they don't even eat if they can help it, do they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, once they're good, they don't even mess with food.
Yeah. So that's another question that we have going forward that I think only time will tell the answer to. But in the meantime, let's move on to Herblore, because this one, it gets really, really interesting in my books here. Unless you guys have anything else with farming.
No. Just
Okay.
about the both of them together, which you can do at the end.
Yeah. All right. So I want to start with the power bursts. Because, we heard about these in the live stream before. Power burst of vitality boosts your hit points up, doubles it for a short period, and gives you extra HP with that. The power burst of acceleration allows you to use Surge and Barge faster, I believe it is. Then the power burst of feats lets you use your summoning special moves, which I'm sure we can find a use for in skilling somewhere. And then the power burst of overkill supercharges your adrenaline. And yes, I'm summarizing the aspects of what all of these do, because everybody who wants to use one of these can either make one, buy one, or just look them up what they do. But we need to talk about the two skilling ones that were not mentioned in the live stream in the run-up to this one, because the power burst of sorcery is absolutely insane in my books. And here's why. It doubles your runecrafting multiplier.
What?
Yep.
Cool.
So in one run, I made 105 nature runes and 105 law runes.
What?
Yep.
That is that.
Are you ready for the next big thing?
No, I just want to say we had this thing where runes were taken out of the game because there were too many runes, and now they come up with something like this. It feels so counterintuitive.
But it doesn't last that long, does it?
No, it lasts 10 seconds, and you can use it once every 2 minutes.
So you can use it every trip.
Ye-
Essentially, every run you could be.
They're faster
you could
than
use
that. Every other run.
Okay, every other.
Every other run.
Okay, so it would give you like a 50% increase in runes on average.
Not as bad.
Now, there's also something called the Extreme Runecrafting Potion.
Oh boy, I can see where this is going.
And it's worth noting that this was just with an inventory full. It wasn't using pouches or the law outfit or any other thing like that.
Oh boy.
I made 531 air runes in one shot.
Oh my goodness.
Air runes?
Yeah.
Well, those are free anyway, aren't they?
Well, air's
Not
always
really.
free. No.
They're actually
Elemental runes are expensive nowadays.
Yeah.
But air?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I just picked that one because it would make the most. But assuming you have, say, an extreme rune crafting potion and you want to make fire runes, you can potentially have a ×8 multiplier on fire runes if you can get your rune crafting level up to 105 with a potion. A ×8 multiplier on fire runes. You can get a ×10 multiplier on earth runes. A ×14 multiplier on water runes. And an 18 times multiplier on mind runes. And the 22 times multiplier on air runes. This also enables a 6-time multiplier on cosmic runes. And 4 times multipliers on, of course, nature runes, law runes as well. Because those are the only ones you can pot up to that allow you to access their double multiplier.
Well, my guess is like people just aren't. I mean, you couldn't give me a 20 multiplier to want to go and do rune crafting. I mean, they got to give somebody some reason to do it, right?
I would with this. I'd do nature.
Shane, you're not normal. You're not normal, dude. I just can't see runecrafting taking off and like being overdone. I think the reason we had the problems with the runes before, though, it was mostly through the drops.
Yeah,
that's once they're taking out the drops, Yeah,
what
I
the problem
don't
was.
know if we could ever out runecraft ourselves to get into the same position. I mean, maybe, but
Fire Rune goes for 83 GP right now.
say,
So just doing some quick back of the envelope math, and say you were being horribly inefficient and you only had 25 slots in your inventory, and you want to access that, you could potentially make 200 Fire Runes per shot, just if you're using your inventory and no pouches.
That's 16k per run.
Yeah.
huh?
Uh-huh.
Well,
And then
it could happen, but I want to see it to see if it does. I just can't believe people are going to do it. Runecrafting's all click intensive.
But you're also forgetting that it is double XP weekend.
Yeah, well, they're not going to be crafting like elementals. They're going to be doing soul runes.
But
yeah.
there is a reason that, if somebody wanted to craft bloods, for example, you could get just double bloods off this too.
Yeah, I mean, is this bad? I don't really mind bloods because they're so expensive all the time anyway.
I think this is great for rune crafting. This is great for standard rune crafting. I want to do the Power Burst of Master Stroke next because I think, Tanis, you're going to like this one.
Okay.
This one lasts for 30 seconds with the still has the 2-minute cooldown on it, so you got 30 seconds up, 90 seconds down. Your next 4 hammer swings, your smithing progress is multiplied by 10. So you get 4 hammer swings to use this with, but it lasts 30 seconds. Progress is multiplied by 10. By 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely helps. Helps a lot. Smithing's getting there. It's getting there.
So people are, of course, saying that they don't see much of a use for the other power bursts, but I think by far the 2 most useful are Master Stroke and Sorcery.
Well, but those are skilling ones, so of course people aren't seeing much use for them.
Exactly, and that's why I think this is a hidden treasure here with this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. If it does end up breaking something, if people all of a sudden start migrating to this and doing it, then okay, maybe it might need fixed or something. But I don't know.
Yeah, and
right now, it's if you want to go and do that job, great. You should get paid for it.
Yeah. To make the Power Burst a sorcery, you need the Power Burst Vial, Primal Extract again, a Super Rune Crafting Potion, Blood Runes, and Beak Snot. And depending on your Herblore level, that modifies the number of, or the type of Rune Crafting Potion, Blood Runes, and Beak Snot needed.
See, that goes to like one of my... It's not really an issue. It's something that I don't think it's avoidable, but it's definitely a bottleneck, I feel like. Because all of the... So there's a nice... there's a nice, interaction between the farming and Herblore, but you need all of this Anachronia produce for everything. So it's all tied in together. It's going to take a long time for us to get enough of this stuff in game.
And that's what I said when we started this segment off this week, is that I really haven't been able to dive into all of this because at the moment I have effectively just harvested some vines and 100 bottled dinosaur roar.
Yeah, see, but I mean,
I had to pay dearly to get the Beak Snot I needed to make that Power Burst potion.
Right, and it's going to be like this for, well, like Theon said, at least 6 months, and could be longer. I mean, I don't know.
So you see what this is? It's a perfect opportunity for farmers to make money.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out for money, you can try to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I think it's hard though for if you're in it for the XP or you wanted to try out those higher tiers, because you're not going to be able to really be able to with it beyond your own ability to make it.
Yeah, and on the Herblore side, I don't think you're going to do much of the new potions for XP. I think we all have our favorites for XP aside from this, just because these are prohibitively expensive to make.
Right. Well, I mean, like, but really, when it comes down to what potions people are making, it's going to be whatever is the best value per hour.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever's the best XP per GP.
Right. And to talk about the farming XP, I could see a situation where you run your manor farm with Zygomites and dragons, and then you run your Anachronia farm, Ranch Out of Time, with the perk on the medium pen with Jadinkos, and also Jadinkos in your breeding pen. Because recall that you can leave things in the breeding pen until they grow up as well. So there is a way to funnel those around and get XP from that too. We're going to have to run the numbers once we know exactly how long these dinosaurs take to breed to see where they come in on the XP side, factoring that in per day and whatnot. But I think what we're seeing is a nice progression upwards over time on these XP curves. But nonetheless, back to Herblore. Elder Overloads, we've talked about these many times before. Primal Extract, Supreme Overload, Fellstock. Or you can make the Elder Overload Salve, which is Primal Extract, Supreme Overlord Salve, and Clean Fellstock. Or you can add the ingredients to an Elder Overload after the fact, and you get that. Charming Potion, 4 of each charm, Spark Chitin, Primal Extract.
I want to. That's what I'm interested in. That's what I want.
Yeah, because that doubles your charm multiplier.
Yeah.
Spiritual Prayer Potion, recharges prayer and summoning points. Extreme Prayer Potion, Weapon Poison +++. Cooking Potion, which we talked about, which is Hairlander and Swordfish, and then it factors in with Zygomite Fruit, and then the Extreme Cooking Potion is Primal Extract and Beak's Knot.
See, that is just like, remember when they gave us that Slayer Potion before it went to 120 and you had to eat the what's the Wilder Pie?
Yeah,
that was that stuff. That was that stuff. That was the stuff that needed bear meat. So there was a bear meat rush.
Yeah. Bombs. Sticky bombs, poison bombs, vulnerability bombs, and there's obviously questions I think in the PVM community about where these will be useful. But for me, as somebody who is relatively uninitiated in towards PVM, I can say that the vulnerability bomb will be useful because if you're fighting, say, melee or ranged, you don't necessarily have the ability to bring vulnerability runes with you, and if you do bring them with you, there's a chance that because you're not set up for magic, you might fail casting that. So the vulnerability bomb is just a surefire way of making that happen.
Yeah, these are interesting.
Poison bombs just adds damage onto it, and sticky bombs, I mean, I'm struggling to think of what boss you can actually root, but I don't know. I think that would be more of a question for our PVM crowd.
Is it something you think maybe like a tank could start taking with them just to, start making that role more of the debuff kind of role that, you see in the other games?
Yeah.
Debuffing support class.
Yeah, that we talked about before in our Future Skills podcast. Mm. And then, of course, we also have the Blessed Flask.
It didn't quite work exactly how it was supposed to.
Yeah, because, it's supposed to hold 80 doses of prayer potion, 80 prayer recharges, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if people are going to get excited about this. Because it's a prayer restore, and there's other ways of doing it. Granted, it's something you might just take along with you, but you need to make a glorious Silthrill chain, which requires silver bar, mithril bar, and a glorious bar, so that's not too hard. But the blessed flask shell, oh boy. It needs 5,000 harmonic dust, 250 golden salt, 100 phasmatite stone spirits, 100 nechrite stone spirits, azure blessed molten glass, which is new, which requires 25 dark animica stone spirits, 25 mithril stone spirits, 5 sapphire bolt tips, and 20 blessed molten glass. And you make this using 3 red sandstone and 3 crystal flex sandstone, as well as soda ash and 100 blessed sand, which you get from taking extra fine sand, which is ground up from the sandstone in the desert, and blessing it. So you can see what we're working towards here, that this is indeed a masterwork level process on this. And the estimated number for everything, you guys ready for this? You're going to need around 35,000 10-kilogram blocks of sandstone, 1,200 soda ash, 1,200 red sandstone, 1,200 crystal flex sandstone, 50 hydrix, bolt tips, and then all the stone spirits that I mentioned.
And you can't fill this back up, right? Like it can only be used to 80 times or whatever, and then it goes away?
No, you can recharge it.
Yeah, it can be recharged.
It's a one-time thing, and then you just put potions in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The stone spirits as an ingredient make me, I mean, almost angry. Like stone spirits are drops. They are PVM drops. That's all they are, right? They are there to prevent people from getting ore from drops directly, which devalues mining. So this makes sure that all ores, whether doubled or not with a stone spirit, at least come into the game through somebody mining. Now, all of a sudden you need these for other stuff as well, which you can't even make stone spirits out of anything. Like, if you could turn an ore back into a stone spirit by, I don't know, blessing it, I don't know. Like, this would make sense, but I don't know. There will be enough stone spirits coming into the game for it to be a big problem, but stone spirits, giving them this extra use seems like it sort of defeats the point of what they are.
I think it's okay because people have always been saying stone spirits need a use. Stone spirits need to be higher in value. So this might be a way of giving it a try, though I haven't heard anyone jumping up and down if they want a blessed flask. I'll let you continue now.
The use is that they give you more ore, and they are used for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
As long
and they're
as
going to have to be when they do the AFK mining.
Yeah, exactly. So no, they should have left the stone spirits completely out of this. Like, it has nothing to do with this entire upgrade. It feels very arbitrary. So, this whole sort of process, it's almost a sort of manufacturing process. And part of me is sort of wary of all this. Perhaps because some of it is a bit arbitrary, like these stone spirits, whereas the masterwork armor was really well thought out. But I really did enjoy building that masterwork armor from scratch.
Yeah.
I enjoyed doing all these different steps and seeing it come together. And perhaps it is not such a bad thing that you have these sort of masterworks items that sort of branch out, and you need to really start collecting a lot of stuff and moving it into it. Though the numbers you mentioned, the number of sandstone, it's not realistic as somebody is going to mine that all by themselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they need to look at those numbers. So that's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and there were some QOL changes on the way for this from Mod Orion. And in particular, with this, blessed sand and extra fine sand used for creating this will be tradable. The blocks of sandstone have had their buy limit increased to 10,000 on the exchange. Left-clicking the extra fine sand will now bless it when you stand in range in front of an altar. Experience for grinding sandstone and blessing extra fine sand has been increased slightly, and blessing extra fine sand will require level 20 prayer, and this is coming into game next Monday.
So let's compare this, like, because this sort of goes back to what I've been thinking about like all the other stuff. So for something like this masterwork item, it makes sense that this is sort of a wide manufacturing process. It almost makes me sort of think of, some of these other building types games. Like, think about even Minecraft, but also these games like Factorio. As you go further into the game, your assembly lines, your pipelines for building stuff become more and more complex. You need to add more and more steps on top of it, which for RuneScape is not something I would ever have imagined. But like I said, I enjoyed that as part of the Masterwork armor. I think for Masterwork items, doing stuff like this makes sense, though you need to be really careful to pick the right items and ratios. Now, coming back to all these potions, like these consumables, it really feels like all these different parts. I mean, just a lot of them actually, like the Primal Feast, but all these potions you mentioned, like they require like 6 different ingredients, and I feel this whole Anachronia part of farming is sort of shoehorned into it. Make sure that you need all that stuff in all these new potions. I'm not sure if I like that. Like, honestly, I'm not a big fan of the whole Jurassic Park theme myself, so that's why I am not really keen to interact a lot with Anachronia. But it is all like all these potions require. Oh, you require something from this bit of farming and this bit of farming and this bit of farming and this bit of herblore and this bit of herblore. Like, it feels a bit too much. And if you think about this from an Iron Man perspective, like you are saying you're struggling to get even going on all this. Imagine you're an Iron Man. You can't even trade stuff.
And I mean, I could have got going sooner if I wanted to sink, multiple millions in terms of buying the dinosaur eggs, but I didn't because that's not my way.
No, but like even the Iron Man, like if you go the Iron Man way, it will take you months to get even some stuff up and running. And honestly, at that point, if you look at the potions, is that worth a few months of setup time getting all the ingredients? I don't think so. I think it's all a bit too oh, come on, there's a really good word for this. Language is betraying me. It's all a bit too complicated. It's all convoluted. That's the right word. Like, the whole thing feels very convoluted at, like, past 99. Like, even, like, if you go up to Supreme Overloads, that is probably where they should stop for consumables. Because even getting to a Supreme Overload is already, like, a big sort of diagram and complex thing.
We had a good image on this in the Discord. I'm going to find it. Here we are. You're right on that, and I'm of two minds on that. I've always loved having these complicated tracks like that, but I don't know what is too much.
I think these complicated tracks are okay if it's like a masterwork item that is, you don't lose it as quickly. But a lot of these potions, you have six sips and you need to start over basically. And at that point, like, RuneScape is not really a game where you repeat. You want to repeat complicated pipelines all the time.
Yeah, I noticed that with the stone spirits too. That was the first thing I thought was like, so stone spirits by any other name is just ore, so that should have been just ore. And then, because now you've opened up a whole can of worms.
Yeah, and we're kind of back to that same problem, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely puts the ore in the boat of being used exclusively for smithing, but at the same time, why not just let us take that ore and do some little ritual to it, and you get some kind of alternative that you could use instead of the stone spirit, right?
Right, because the stone spirit's purpose is to help you mine ore.
Right.
So, like, it just feels
And I mean, we're still not sure
really
if the stone
odd.
spirit problem is a real problem or if it's people complaining.
And I don't even... Yeah. I'm not even going on that tangent, but yes, I agree.
I mean, just to summarize, right? Like, I come up pretty negative on like all these pipelines, and I want to say I really like what they did in general with these skills.
Yeah.
They really packed out 99 to 120.
Yeah.
There's a lot of content. There's a lot of new things to explore, and part of my apprehension probably comes from the fact that this is all new to me. And maybe in a year I will have a better understanding of how all these things link together, and it will feel less convoluted. But, you know, on the other hand, it feels like they went a bit overboard.
This is already my second favorite update of the year, by the way.
But won't that add the value though to it? So like, as long as people can trade, I mean, as long as trading becomes a thing, you know, like that.
I think for the level of complexity and the level of effort you have to put into gathering all these different components, the payoff is not quite enough. I don't think there is nothing groundbreaking in this update that you must get, if I understand correctly. So
essentially, the price point would be too high or not high enough to entice someone to do that level of work.
I would say so, yes.
But that's good for me on the farming sense, because I can check this
Is
in.
it though?
But I don't care as long as I'm making money.
But I can check this in daily and reap profit from it.
For now, but, you know, in like 6 months, people have figured out that nobody really wants the rewards and nobody needs these ingredients, and it's going to be dead content. Like, I hate to say that content is going to be dead content, but, you know, we are asking people to put a lot of work into not a massive difference on, like, the bottom line in the end. That's sort of how it feels on a lot of these fronts. Like, I think most people will interact with this content because it will give better XP per hour in like terms of like the wrench out of time. But making all these complex potions, you know, I'm really not sure if that is such an enticing end goal for many people, and that worries me.
Well, it depends on what the niche is too, right? So like, I would go through this to make charming potions because that's something that it would be really helpful.
I would do the same for the power bursts.
Right.
Okay, like for reference, what is needed to get to make a charming potion? Like, how does the pipeline look? Right?
Okay, so let's do this then from the top. Then your charming potion, you need a vial, so you can either blow that or you can purchase it. I assume you're going to purchase it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so to do that, you need to grab a mango or any of the fruit, break it down into primal pulp, put it in a vial. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you need 4 of each of the colored charms, of the classic charms. Then you need 1 spark chitin, which comes from either the Asiatops or brutish dinosaurs on the ranch.
Okay, so it's not too bad.
That one's not too complicated.
No, that's not too complicated. But okay, you would go and do that, right? But like, power burst of acceleration I have here, right?
Right.
It takes a power burst, primal extract, a stamina potion, an energy potion, and a spark chitin.
Yeah.
Then a power burst takes... What does it take? Oh, it's a vial. Power burst vial.
Yeah, you make it.
I see.
Or you can buy it.
Okay. Then I thought that was a separate potion.
No.
But then I was wrong.
No.
Okay, so maybe it's not too bad.
No. And, I mean, stamina potions are something that we got when Anachronia came out. They didn't draw too much attention. And Arbuck comes from Big Game Hunter there, and that's made with super energy potions, so that goes further back into the chain as well on that one.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not too bad, right?
No, it's not too bad. It's just, yeah, it feels, some of this stuff feels a bit more complicated than it should be. It's also not helped by the fact that there's multiple recipes sometimes.
Right, and the way the power bursts go is the recipes get simpler as you go higher in level. So the power burst of acceleration first unlocks at level 111, requiring the power burst vial, the primal extract, a stamina potion 4, an energy potion 4, and 2 spark chitin. But at 115, the recipe is upgraded to need stamina and energy potion 3 doses and 1 spark chitin.
So you would always just ask for an assist from somebody with a high level and get the better.
Yeah.
Now the question is, like, I want to suggest. So this is the design they went with, but I want to suggest something alternative here. Let's say you unlock this more complex recipe at a higher level instead of a lower level. Like, switch them around, right? But the more complicated recipe gives you better, like, results. Gives you maybe like double the number of doses. That's a lot, but you get the point. But you would make it more complex by maybe adding like an extra ingredient. See, at that point, people can choose at a higher level, do I go for the more complex recipe, get like better bang for my buck, but need to gather more different kinds of ingredients, or do I stick with the simpler recipe and sort of take that small gold hit? That to me sounds more interesting than just making things plain out cheaper as you go higher level, which seems to be a bit arbitrary.
Yeah. They could have had like you said, a good opportunity. One, if you were doing power burst, for example, one way of doing it would give you better profit return on it, but lower XP. Than the other one, higher XP, but not as expensive, or the other way around, rather. Sorry.
Yeah,
and I think that's what you described, basically, right?
I was just talking about like the actual returns and the ingredients, but like there's definitely like different options there that you can play with, which feel much more interesting than just, oh, you're higher level, suddenly you need less potions, which makes some sense, but it feels weird that they introduced that mechanic with something so new, where it's not really a thing elsewhere in the skill. But again, these are all new mechanics, so maybe it's fine, but
a lot of the potions are real simple to make. Like Extreme Prayer Potion is Primal Extract, Super Prayer, and Spark Chitin.
Well, and I kind of want to jump in on that just because, like, even though, granted, I think they are some of them are complicated, I don't think anything is more complicated than what we already had with, like, an overload salve.
Oh, yeah. All you got to do is look
in the process. Yeah, in the process that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of more the same in that regard.
But it is more complicated in regards that we don't have the dinosaurs and they take a long time to farm and grow.
It's that system that, well, everybody's talked about at this point. It's so knotted up right now that, yeah, it's going to take time. I don't really know any way of getting around that other than, it's going to take time.
All right. Well, we do have to discuss Yak Track, and we are approaching the hour-and-a-half mark. But there's one thing I want to mention before we get that way, and I forgot to put it in the notes, which is really shameful on my part. That's the farming. Shameful. That's the farming and Herblore Master Cape perks. Farming one will automatically treat all patches with super compost and allow you to increase the health and happiness of all of your player-owned farm animals by 20% once per day.
So much for feeding them.
But no, 20% is still a thing. So, it's you still need to feed them. So, you can see why that one was kept secret all the time, is because it would have tanked super compost before it came out.
Oh, yeah.
Herblore is, of course, one that we already talked about before. With this, it will allow you to make an extra overload along the way. Enables the creation of overloads, supreme overloads, and elderodes, and it overloads in batches of 5 instead of 4. So 20% fewer ingredients.
Have you been showing off the emotes everywhere, Shane?
No, I haven't actually. Oh, and I should have got some video of that, shouldn't I? Oh,
Yeah, what are the emotes?
Right. We'll save that for the live stream on the weekend. But they look really good. They look really good. I am pleased with that. So, yeah, that's farming in Herblore to 120 and the ranch out of time. Yak Track?
Yakety yak.
I think it's time for this.
Oh, boy.
I bought this with 2 bonds. Did you guys buy in?
Not until this weekend's over.
Okay.
Or my hours.
Well, you have until January 5th to complete it. There's 50 tasks in total. I just have to say that, I was unsure of how I was going to feel about this when it finally arrived in terms of the process that was involved with this because, it's new and it's different for RuneScape, right?
Mm-hmm.
But starting off with this...
Not that new.
Well, I mean, relatively. I mean, we had Rune Pass, but it didn't really get the fair shake it did.
It wasn't like this, though, either.
No, it
It wasn't as packed with content and stuff. This one was done much better.
So, starting off, your first task was to kill a duck or talk to Count Yakula, which is, of course, really simple. And, as you progress through this, there's different tasks. And, I have to say that the interesting part about this for me is that it's almost an addiction, I feel, to try and complete these tasks to see what's next and what's going forward on this.
Oh, that's it, Shane. We got to cut you off. You're done.
Shane, I want to take you back to the episode where we talked about what the achievement system could be, the daily system could be.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep, that's this.
Every day.
That's this.
It focuses you and it gives you a certain
That's
a group of tasks. Gives you something to focus on. Now imagine that these tasks were the same for each player for every day. You would have all people in the same area because you have hubs now for these skills. You just had to put that out there that, I was right. And I like being right. So.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's really good.
Missed the money portion of it.
I did miss the money portion of it, yes.
Yeah.
What do you think this is UNICEF? We're just giving stuff away free there, Serion?
No. Like, the achievements... I would have gone for a different system. Yes, I would not have gone with this particular system, and I still think this is not quite there. Like, I would still go for a daily system where everybody has the same task on a day, which sort of puts people in the same place, makes it much more of a social game. It's a slightly different approach, but, I think it shows the potential that people do actually like giving more concrete goals and things to work towards.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the tasks. So, task 2, string 500 oak short bows or above, or smelt 600 bars of steel or above, excluding gold bars. Task 3, burn 285 logs of yew or above, or smith 20 items of orichalcum or above, or rune for free-to-play players.
I had just finished my fire making training for double XP, and then I was like, let's do task 2.
Oh, you know what?
I got to task 3.
I broke into my magic log supply, and I broke out the pitch can and just went...
You went double. Yeah.
So that was fun.
I will probably still do that before the end of double XP weekend.
Task 4, harvest 10 plants above Snapdragon, which was easy. Which was really easy for me. Task, or catch 95 fish above green bubbler jellyfish or above. And task 5, that's interesting, Yak Track. Apparently there's a brand of snowshoes called Yak Tracks. I put that into
A
Google.
brand of, as in,
a brand of
you
snowshoes.
buy snowshoes?
Yeah. Oh yeah, people do that all the time
Oh,
here.
no wonder that would be an ad for you in the frozen north.
It's a very fun pastime for people to go to the backcountry in the foothills or the mountains and go cross-country skiing, or if you don't want to do cross-country skiing, go snowshoeing.
Cold.
Yes.
Snow.
Yes.
Walking in the snow.
Oh no, you're not walking in the snow. You're walking on top of it. That's the whole point of a snowshoe.
You guys, you do
You've
things a little different.
You've never
up
been
there.
snowshoeing before.
I mean, I've been stranded and had to walk through snow.
Well, then a pair of snowshoes would have helped you.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean the closest I've ever done to that was like I've been hunting. That's a whole nother story. It's
Okay.
kind of fun.
All right. Sorry, we got off track there.
Off the Yak Track.
Yeah, with the
Back
Task
to Count
5,
Yakula.
collecting 550 vibrant energy above, or cooking 595 items above catfish. And for the divination one, the vacuum does work.
ooh, nice.
And that's where I stopped because I want to pace myself. I did the first 5 tasks here. But they're all relatively of the same caliber on this one. There's one, task 28, that's complete 8 Slayer tasks, or
Ouch.
burn 1,415 U logs or above.
Oh, that's better.
Well, let's see if you know.
Yeah, so there's options.
See, I like this. This is all stuff you can do while you're training anyway.
Yes.
So I do like that.
And it's diversifying your training method, which I absolutely love. And, you know, there has, over time, RuneScape has gone from something that, you know, I just do it for the hell of doing it, right? And, you know, you know how when you pick up a new game, it's like, oh, I got to go start up this game again today, right?
Yeah.
Right first. And that's what Yak Track is doing for me on this.
Yeah, it feels like piddles. Just go and piddle around with this and that. How's your experience been with the rewards, Shane? Like how have you done?
I mean, I'm only at tier 5, right?
Uh-huh.
But I love the cosmetics that I'm getting along the way. I don't really care much for the things like the Silverhawk Down and the tight springs and whatnot. I more prefer the cosmetics. But at tier 5, you also get something called plus 2% Slayer XP.
Oh, well, that works out perfect for your Slayer task, right? We got to do 8 of those.
Yeah, and at task 20, you get another 2% Slayer XP.
Oh, damn.
And at 35, you get another 2% Slayer XP. And at 50, you get another 2% Slayer XP. So all of these add up, and they persist until the event ends on January 5th.
So the sooner you buy it, then
The sooner you buy it, the sooner you do it, the sooner you're going to be.
the more rewards you're going to get from
Yeah.
it in the end.
Yeah.
So the rewards is sort of where this kind of falls apart for me. Right?
Okay.
I really, really want to like Yak Track because you're right. The tasks are awesome. They're great. I love the idea of there being free rewards and paid rewards. Like the whole model works and there's nothing to dislike. But I think it's over a year ago I stopped doing Treasure Hunter, and I've talked about it before. I felt that the way Treasure Hunter awarded me lamps and stars left and right meant that I did not feel that my achievements were my own anymore. So I stopped using keys for the very reason of, you know, I want to be the person who got that XP through gameplay. And I've looked through the rewards of Yak Track.
And there are stars.
And there are lots of stars, and there's lots of lamps. And even if you look at like these tight springs and Silverhawk Dawn, they're just ways of getting experience in a way. Yeah. And at that point, you know, there's 2 things I can do, and I haven't decided yet which. Is I can destroy those rewards and be like, you know, I won't get those, I'll go for the cosmetics. Or I'll accept like this as a reward because in a way I've still worked for the
worked
rewards
for
by
it.
doing the tasks.
Yeah.
Like I haven't made the decision yet, but if you look at the difference in free rewards and paid rewards mostly will give you a lot more experience.
Right.
And it doesn't really feel right to me to be spending my money on that. And destroying all that stuff and only paying those 2 bonds for the cosmetics is getting to the point where I'm not sure if that exclusively is worth it. So I find myself sitting very much on the fence where I'm like, I really want to like this content. I want to throw my money at it to show that I'm supportive of this kind of content. And that is probably why I will end up buying the buns and throwing my money at it anyway. I want to show my support for it. But it really doesn't fit with my kind of playstyle. Like, I'm not an Iron Man, but I'm like an Iron Man light is how I like to
and you know, that's in turn how I play as well. And I noticed that this weekend in that I didn't have any bonus XP to use on my woodcutting, which I would have really enjoyed for double XP weekend, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, I feel like this is balanced pretty well because, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think anything can be what they would consider successful in a promotion that doesn't include some kind of XP rewards. Like I think you got to have both, and I think this was a chance to try to find that balance. And I thought it was better balanced than before. But I don't know.
It's definitely better than Treasure Hunter for sure. They're also doing this new trial with the new Treasure Hunter thing, right?
Yeah. Just one thing before we get into that. There's 34 lamps in total on Yak Track. 6 of them are smoldering lamps.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Got to burn up all them stars you're getting too.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a lot of lamps.
And there's 31 stars.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
See, I would have rather had 60 stars and no lamps, but that's just because I'm biased against lamps.
And
I would rather have had money bags, I think.
Ooh, that would have been interesting. But there are some with money bags.
Experience lamps, like or dungeoneering token bags or something like
that's
that.
Interesting.
They feel a bit like they have the same problem to an extent, but I'm slightly more forgiving to myself because getting to a certain point in the number of dungeoneering tokens doesn't feel quite like a milestone as like reaching a certain level.
It feels like torture.
You get 2 task skips to start with when you buy, and you can buy 4 skips for 1 bond or 10 skips for 2 bonds.
So it takes 2 bonds to get the premium pass, and then another 2 bonds to get
10 skips if you wanted to.
Okay.
But you get 2 skips off the bat if you want to use them when you purchase.
So you could do 8 tasks and then spend 8, 10... Yeah, 50...
There's 50. There's
10 bonds.
50 tasks in total.
Yeah, so you spend 10 bonds and you get all the rewards if you do 8 tasks. There you go. You could do that, or you could get Silver Premium membership. Up to you.
But yeah, Treasure Hunter is
this
also
supposed to come with
changed
Premiere.
this week. It does.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm not.
It
I need to
does.
hold off because I'm doing Premiere this time. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. So Treasure Hunter also changed this week to bring in the promo that we heard of, or rather not the promo, the method of getting prizes that was shown a few weeks back. Effectively, there's a glass case with a certain number of rewards behind it, and you get one of those rewards randomly when you open up your daily key, I guess you could call it, though it's not really much of a key anymore with it not opening a chest. But the thing is, if you don't like what's on offer for those 10, you can re-roll that for 750 odd mints, but you get 1 free re-roll per day of the prizes. And, I got a good board, and I kept that for a few days, and I've been really happy with it. Also, the day it came
I've
out...
shown you my board. Right?
Yeah. Also, the day it came out, I spent probably around 5,000 oddments or so just seeing what I could get from it before getting one that I really liked. So, I mean, it had that effect on me. I don't know how the rest of the community who normally purchases from Treasure Hunter is interacting with this.
It felt like shaking a vending machine to me. Like, you never know what's actually going to fall out. I didn't get any good boards either. I didn't want to spend my oddments because I thought we're going to get there's a more direct way to get XP out of those. So I didn't want to spend them to reroll.
So I like I said, I don't do Treasure Hunter anymore, but I took a look, and there were 8 stars on there, a lamp, and divine energy. So that. Again, this was something I like this more than Treasure Hunter, and maybe I should start using my keys again as a signal that I like this better.
Apparently, it goes away on the 30th.
It's
only for the week that we got the special Treasure Hunter.
It doesn't feel like the kind of stuff I want from Treasure Hunter. It takes away from my achievements. So,
well, then you shouldn't use it.
I'm not, and it makes me so sad in a way, right? Like you want to support it. I want to support the right decisions, but it's not for me, so...
Yeah. Well, don't worry. I spent a few thousand oddments on it for you.
Good. Thank you. You're one of the whales, right? No.
I've never bought Treasure Hunter keys.
But yeah, like Yak Track, please, if you are not bothered at all by these rewards, consider spending bonds on it and showing your support, because I do think it is really good and amazing, and I think we should all be support. Like, there's a lot of people who always complain about Treasure Hunter. Now is the time to act, right? You vote with your wallet. That's how the games industry works, and this is your opportunity to say, look, we understand the need for microtransactions, and this is a model we think is fair and fun for everyone, so support it. That's all I want to ask.
Yeah,
everyone.
and we said that before, but I think now that it's here, we can say it definitively that this is something that I am gonna effectively double down on and reiterate your message here with that, because this is, I think, the first step to completely changing the way the game is monetized, and I want to see what that future brings. So,
yeah, I'm pretty
all
happy
for
with this like attempt at it. Like,
and
I think this is better done.
And I
like it.
I was trying to remember a time when, because of Yak Track, I had such a varied and diverse set of things that I did in RS. And it's been a long time.
Well, I mean, that's just because we're used to grinding.
Yeah.
Like, bitch, I'm from RuneScape.
And I mean, if this is doing this for me as a high-level person, granted, you're not touching it because you're still concerned with your double XP, but this is important. So, Yak Track, I think, was carried out and implemented perfectly. Okay,
yep, well
anything
done.
else on Yak Track?
Nope.
All right, next up we got a dev blog on movement within the game. So, Sirion, I see what you did, and we'll handle month ahead right after this because of that. I think it makes sense to do it that way too. But let's start with the movement in-game. We saw it at RuneFest. Smoother character movement. We're going to get this.
I think it's going to take some time getting used to, but oh my gosh, it looks really good.
And for those watching the video version, I have it playing in the background right now, and of course you can find the dev blog linked in our show notes at update.rsbnb.com, and oh my, it is just so smooth. I mean, I already appreciate the way the new one looks, to be honest.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's just one of the things that it's going to look weird, I think, for maybe a few in-game play hours, but I think it's a definite improvement.
After it'll be
And
like, holy, how did we have this before?
Yes.
And then they go through all of the technical details of how movement in regards to the server works, which I'm not going to read out on the podcast here, but it makes sense.
I could appreciate it.
Yeah,
but,
I appreciated it too. I mean,
it's
if you
nothing
think about it,
surprising here, but,
right?
Yeah,
right. That's what I was going to say. So if you are interested in how movement works, read every sentence in this news post.
It's really well written as well, very understandable, and not too waffly.
Not too technical either.
No, like some people get really sort of overboard with this. No, it's really good, and it also shows the solution they chose to, because making it too smooth means you clip through corners, and the solution they chose for that is so simple. It really shows how game design works sometimes.
Yeah. So we'll just sum that up right there. So basically how turning works is it uses something called a Bezier curve, and if they were to just take that curve and put your movement on a Bezier curve, you would have clipping, and you would effectively move through objects and cut through walls and corners on that. So what they did with that is they just used the general path that a Bezier curve would take and just added more points to it, so you would get a more smooth set of movement, which, like you said, is a really simple solution when you're looking at anything that is a curve in that regard. So, and for anybody who's familiar with Bezier curves, or even using the pen tool in Photoshop, you'll see what's happening here, because that is one of the number one uses of that for artists and whatnot who use Bezier curves to draw things in Photoshop. And then, of course, you can also extrapolate it to Game World and whatnot. Then they have also a neat little video of how it looks before any animations are applied, when it's just moving around the ground, and then the animations after the fact. So the animations are effectively just filling in a gap. Then the final video on this one is what the new thing looks like with the new technology applied, which is so smooth and so modern looking, yet core to RuneScape, I think. So.
Mm-hmm.
And Modnin here works on the game engine and says, before I joined Jagex in 2016, I really enjoyed reading through the NXT dev blogs. I hope some of you find this interesting. I'm part of the new core experience team, a team dedicated to making the general game experience better wherever we can. So expect more improvements like this in the future.
I mean, I'm a fan of the devlog, so there's at least one.
Yeah, especially these deep dive ones like this that could be so much more complex if they wanted them to be, but they take the extra effort to make it appeal to the masses, which is really, really good. All right, and that leads us into the month ahead for December, which one of the updates we're getting this month is Smooth Movement.
Woohoo, surprise!
We're also getting the Advent calendar, which will run from the 1st to the 25th of December as per usual. The Christmas event, the Christmas cracker, is coming back, and Santa will be around as well. Just immediately from reading this post, I'm not sure which one is going to be the primary Christmas event. I'm guessing it's the present delivery, right?
Who knows?
I'm not sure, really.
Because then there's the Slayer. Slay as in reindeer sleigh armor. Something that's been spotted in the woods around Draenor. Something large, something covered in red, and something jingling. If you're brave enough, you can find your own set of Slayer armor in Solomon's General Store from December 10th to the 31st. So that's another cosmetic that's coming into game.
Yeah. So
it's got to be the Santa delivery one. That's the event, and this runs from the 16th to the 5th of January. No winter weekends this time around? Just the
festive aura.
Festive aura and the Windtumber warmer on January 2nd to the 6th. Gigantic bonfire at the Lumbridge Crater, which you donate your logs for 25% extra XP. There'll also be poi dancing, fire breathing, lantern building, and even spirit summoning. And instead of earning items like the fire poi, the fire stones, and the firewood from Treasure Hunter in order to use the event, you'll use them by participating in the event itself. And there'll also be a 10% XP boost in the area and new bank chests and amenities around there.
Oh, that's like a new festival.
Sorry,
all the fire.
Yeah.
They even set Treasure Hunter on fire and removed all the stuff.
Just see a big case just leaned in the fire.
Well, I mean, looking at this December, you could have other Decembers like the Sliske's Endgame year. You guys remember that one?
Or not.
I'd rather set things on fire than do that maze again. Thank you very much.
Yes. Agreed.
Oh, it was like 2 days before we were set to record the clip show and 2 days before Christmas. And we had to do Sliske's Endgame.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
So I'll take this laid back December over that, but looks good. And
you can spend some time doing all your Yak Track tasks.
Yeah,
that will
true.
be running throughout all of December. So
that's right. And then they also mentioned Road to Archaeology. So on January 3rd, 10th, and 17th, there's going to be new videos that will start rolling out about archaeology. So that means that archaeology won't be the first update of the year, like mining and smithing was this past year. So there's that.
I have to wait an extra month.
Mm-hmm.
Really? I want to play it now. My addiction is kicking in.
And they
10
also
minutes.
talk about their January sale already in this news post in Solomon's General Store. So, yeah, there we go.
I mean, there's not going to be a January month ahead. There's going to be a year ahead. So,
yeah. And that's what it's going to be. Well, we know what the first 6 months looks like, so we'll have to see what the rest looks like with that. So,
apparently, there's going to be updates that they haven't talked about yet in the year ahead video.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. All right. And, speaking of archaeology, this week we got another devlog on the Stormguard Citadel, which is one of the archaeology sites, obviously set around the Avian Seas. They did say it was supposed to be miles up in the sky, and there's some, I guess you could say there's some fun little backstory in between this. So if you're at all interested in archaeology, give this a read, of course, on this. I don't know. I enjoyed it. And I just want to quote one passage from this. If Stormguard Citadel really was behind the technology used in the God Wars, then I bet we'll find plenty of juicy secrets and curious characters. Of particular note, there's an Avian Sea scientist named Howl who appears in much of the preliminary material we've gathered. Our sources tell me that's almost certainly a code name, so this Howl fellow must have been hard to pin down, even in real life. So what we're getting with that is that there's going to be, in addition to the content of the skill, we're going to be learning so much about RuneScape's history with this, which, with the name archaeology, you would expect, but I can't think of something people have been more eager to learn about than the gnomes, and the second, of course, is the Avian Seas, I think, personally.
I mean, just to clarify, archaeology is very much, we talked about this after RuneFest, archaeology is very much meant to be lore-driven content.
It's the lore
There
skill.
is, one of the, I forgot how it worked, how bad. I should go back at my notes, but one of the drops you can get from archaeology is literally something that sort of kicks off a mini quest, and you'll start you go between the different areas. It's not like you unlock an area at a certain level and you'll stay there for a while. You will actually go and unlock new sub areas in each area as you progress through your archaeology skill, which means every time you come back, you sort of unlock a new part of the story. So as you move all the way to is it 120? I think it's a 120 skill. You unlock 5 different storylines basically, not as a single quest, but as lots of sort of small stories that interlock. and each tell a story of an area, which, this is the kind of content we'll see, and it's then up to you as the player to piece that together and make a coherent story out of it, which, it seemed executed really well based on what I've seen, yeah, this is only the start.
Yeah, and that's
like
one of my favorite things to do is, all those kind of books and stories and whatnot about how you start with one puzzle piece and you work your way forward and you ultimately unveil something larger. So this is going to be really good. So I highly recommend everybody read this dev blog. But bringing things back to earth here, we do have a really serious news post that was published, and I'm surprised this wasn't published on the front page, because this is actually really big news that action has been taken against specific gold sellers and gold selling websites, so much so that in the last few weeks, Jagex can report that the owner of 2 of the gold websites has signed an undertaking to cease all operations, and both websites are now down, which of course is a good result for the RuneScape and old school communities. And they say, we're not going to share all the plans to combat bots and gold sellers, but everyone can be reassured that beyond the thousands of bot and real-world trading bans that are carried out each day, they are also seeking to identify the specific people responsible for cheating, including bot developers, gold sellers, and hijackers. And this was a real-world lawsuit that the company undertook and was able to present the case and have these companies shut down. And, people always talk about the money that goes into Jagex in terms of, game development and investing in the technology for the game. But we also need to remember that money needs to go into these kind of things as well, hiring lawyers too. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention on this. And
one thing that stood out for me on this news post is that they're not only addressing the source, but they also said they want to actually start being harsher on the people that use these services, because in the past that there wasn't really any punishment for buying gold, right? People were pretty lenient about it. And this post literally says, finally, we're also stepping up our work against gold buyers. It's clear that we've been a little too lenient in the past, but harsher penalties are on the way. That's a sentence that really stands out to me.
I think that's also potentially a mod warden directive.
Potentially, yeah. And I think it makes sense. You choose to sort of bypass the game's economy. I think it's fair. Like,
you're going to pay. You're going to pay.
Yeah.
Because there are 100% legit ways, if you want gold, to get it in-game. $5 gets you 1 bond, which earlier this week was going for 28-odd million.
I think it's like 7.
Oh.
6.99.
Oh, okay. I thought it was still 5, but
no.
Anyways, and they always say avoid cheating and real-world trading websites, but also report cheating wherever you see it. And they say we're confident that we find most bots, but users also play a vital role in spotting any that have been missed. Bots reported might not disappear immediately, but reports do help Jagex identify things that are not being detected and allow the internal systems to improve so that they can be found in the future automatically. And, this post and the technologies behind it is one of the leading reasons I have no interest in playing old school, because to my knowledge, they still don't have the heuristics-based bot reduction technology that RS3 has. So it's nice living on this side of the garden, but this is all in all a good news post. All right, that's it for RS News this week. Definitely a big one.
They dropped everything in a single week.
They dropped everything in this week.
I kept on tipping off Shane, hey, have you seen this?
No, the producer's chat was busy this week. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, so, if you need a break from that, if you need a break from this podcast, don't stop right now. Just listen for the next few minutes, and then you can go and listen to what I'm going to tell you to listen to next. But I'd like to thank our Patreon supporters for this episode. In particular, this week, Brock H., Cameron, Cass, Christian S., Darren L., Diana, Fernando C., who is a newcomer, Jason S., Kyle, Rastifa, another newcomer this week. Welcome. Rippeth, Sam W., The Naked Captain, Tom V., and Zez. Thank you, all of you, for your support of RSBNB Update. It truly does mean the world to us. And in case you're wondering what these guys are supporting, aside from the podcast, you can head on over to patreon.com/RSBNB. And there you can find all of our offerings, from the monthly bit special that we do where we talk about something in particular. Last month was game dev. This month it's currently tied. We're waiting to see how that poll shakes out. But Patreon supporters do get to vote in the monthly bit poll, and you gain access to the entire back catalog of monthly bits, as well as early access to our show notes, all for as little as $1 a month. For $3 a month, you'll get a special VIP rank in Discord, a mention on the podcast at the start of the month, and access to high-quality stereo AAC versions of the show. And if you want to give the ultimate gift for $5 a month, you get a shout-out every week and gain exclusive access to the outtakes we use for the clip show. And in addition to everything else, you are, of course, helping fund the cost for hosting and production of RSBNB Update. And there will be a clip from pre-show this week. I can already tell you that. But we did our roundtable last weekend where we talked about the fallout from the Maud Osborne episode. This weekend, on Sunday, I'm going to be doing a Patreon-exclusive live stream of the farming and Herblore things in our Discord, so you'll want to check in on that. But we do all sorts of things like this, and we're currently at our 3rd tier, but if we reach the mystical $99 a month tier, it'll be movie night in the RSBNB Discord, where we'll watch our favorite movies. There'll be some Star Trek included, and I have a feeling Tanis will try and include something else in that. Well.
You know it. Maybe it'll be just in time for the Rise of Skywalker. We can go and watch it, and yeah, we'll live stream it.
I think that's illegal.
Is it?
Yeah, live stream.
Well, not the movie, just us and me.
Oh, okay.
Messing with you for the 2
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right, yeah.
All right. All of that and more can be found at patreon.com/RSBNB. Thank you so much to everybody who supports us on Patreon and our listeners in general.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So we're going to drop tech news this week because we're already at the 2-hour mark, but we will do our listener questions. And I know that's going to break Sirion's heart from one of the tech news stories, but we'll work around it. I'll bring that in next week. Don't worry. So starting off this week from the RR Man, awesome work, guys. It was a great interview on the podcast. So 2 questions. How nervous were you both? This is referring to the Maud Osborne episode. And what is the most interesting and surprising thing Maud Osborne had to say? P.S. Tanis, have you watched The Mandalorian yet? If so, what do you think? I just finished episode 4, and baby, it's amazing. Took many years to get a great Star Wars TV show, but it was worth the wait. This is the way.
This is the way.
I didn't really feel that nervous before we began, to be honest.
See, I wasn't in the days prior, but probably about an hour beforehand. Okay. That's when it started getting real.
The hardest thing for me was juggling the time slots, because we did have to move it once and then we moved it back. But Maud Osborne was really great and accommodating on that. To me, the way it works with a podcast episode, I get more stressed over episodes like, I think it was the microtransactions episode a few weeks back. Tanis, I told you. Mm-hmm. I said I got more stressed from producing this episode than I got from producing the Mod Porky episode back in February.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, my stress comes from before the episode is produced, but once the episode is produced, it's just an idea of executing, and it just flows.
Yeah, it was... I mean, I was nervous just because, I mean, it was just Maud Osborne. I mean, you know, like, Maud Osborne was the very first person I ever even knew of from Jagex, you know what I mean? Like, that was kind of my introduction to J-Mods, so it was pretty special.
Were you nervous when you first visited Runefest, Shane?
No.
I don't think Shane gets nervous.
Yeah. Doesn't around them. I don't know.
What was the most interesting thing he had to say?
Dude, it's like impossible. It's so impossible. Gosh. I loved learning about all the stuff that we didn't actually know, but had suspected to do with like Anachronia and everything that was supposed to come out with it. Oh man, that was so good. Yeah.
Ed, you know, what I should clarify, and I don't think he'll mind if we say this because everything was on the record as being recorded from the start to the end. Just as we were closing up, I said, I have a lore question for you. Why are there Anamica rocks on Anachronia?
Yeah.
It took him a second, but he remembered the answer. The lore reason was going to be talked about in Desperate Measures and further iterated upon in a solo boss.
Yep. Could have been cool. Could have been cool.
So that was the lore reason for the rocks on there. You and him had a good talk about accessibility before we began.
Oh man. Yeah, and I can't even wait to follow up on that. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. But, you know, I think if we were to keep it to in-show stuff, I think one of the most interesting things that, you know, makes sense, but it's good to hear, is that they track sentiment with each and every update that they get. You know, in general, the sense is that if social media isn't lighting up about it, it's a good update. But they also have algorithms and tools that go and look at all the different social media mediums and look at the words being used and rate sentiments on a scale like that. So,
you know what I like the best about that was he said that they're not weighted. Like, it's all equal to each other.
Yeah. And
I
that's
thought
good.
I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, because when he mentioned, like, he was pretty familiar with Reddit, but not really much else, I was like, oh, no.
You poor soul.
No.
But he also did have a very important thing, and he said this, is that he is very self-conscious to not over-index on one of the sources or another, which means that when they're taking in feedback, at least him, he looks at all of it.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And I thought that was that's pretty interesting. I'm glad to know that, because sometimes different periods in the past, sometimes things feel like they're coming from only one direction, you know, and then they'll act. You're like, whoa, hey, was everybody mad about this? Or just, a few people? So it was good to know, like, they take that all into account, and it's pretty balanced.
Yeah. Yeah. You watch Mandalorian?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Oh my god, it's so good. Mandalorian is so good. I didn't even think I was going to be into it because, like I've never been a real big, like, Boba Fett fan or you know, the bounty hunter kind of lore and stuff. Never paid a whole lot of attention to it. But I gave it a try, and I was just like, wow, dude, it's good. It's really good. And there's Baby Yoda. It's Baby Yoda. We've crushed the cute skill now. It's done. It's over. Like, nothing will ever be able to compare.
Oh, that's that meme that's been going around this week.
Yeah, it's Baby Yoda, dude.
Okay. All right. Now I understand.
My favorite meme of that is the original Yoda saying, do or do not, there is no try. And then Baby Yoda saying, okay, boomer. I just loved it. So good. But yeah, man, the Mandalorian is great. And, like, it's almost like this space. It's got a real Western feel to it. Like, the music has a real Western feel. Like,
Is it a bit like
feels like
Firefly?
a Western.
Dan?
I haven't seen Firefly, but it
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Well, ask my wife. Where do you want to start? But yeah, I really, really love the show. I haven't got to see the 4th episode yet. I watched the 3rd. And I was actually planning on watching the fourth after the show tonight. So, yeah, it's awesome. I have spoken.
Alrighty.
I can hide behind the fact that the UK is not set to get Disney Plus until March 31, 2020.
Oh, bummer. I guess you're just going to have to Netflix and chill until you get the old Disney Plus.
Yep.
Oh. Dude, so that's too bad, too, because seriously, it's the best streaming service, like, lately. Like, it's so good, especially if you have kids or family. Like, oh, it's so good.
Do you want to know the ironic thing?
What's that?
It already is available in the Netherlands. It's usually the other way around. Yeah.
You're like, damn it.
Time to move back. Yeah, no.
That's not the only reason.
Oh, don't get me started.
All right, next question. Thank you, Mr. R. Next one from Tycho. In recent months, microtransactions has been a hot topic not only for Jagex but the whole game industry. What can be seen as unfair pay to win from a player's point of view can be seen as a security for the company's finances. And what gamer wouldn't be glad to hear that the developers behind the game they love get the success they deserve? Tycho, listen to our monthly bit on game dev. However, reactions worldwide seem to be the exact opposite. This brought me to the thought that maybe we gamers need to get back to school. With as big as gaming is in the average person's life, do you think efforts should be taken to educate the players why microtransactions is a vital part of a company's and thus a game's survival? Well, maybe EA, Nintendo, and Blizzard might not become replacements for a professor with a degree in economics. It could bring enlightenment and understanding. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh boy.
I don't think there's
Can
any... I just want to say one thing first. I don't think there's any explanation needed if the microtransaction model fits into the game nicely. And, of course, I'm talking about Overwatch's method of doing so. With boxes and cosmetics and whatnot, and that it doesn't impact gameplay. But if you want to have the extra money to deck your character out, go for it. Or Rocket League, for example, is another one.
Yeah. Even like Red Dead Online is nice because you can purchase gold, but you can make gold in the game.
Yeah.
So it has that kind of a model. And ESO is a little different. Like I like their model, but their stuff definitely are time savers. Like with you can have a portable bank or merchant, essentially stuff like that.
That's one thing Star Trek Online has been doing better. Is in the past since the year started in the past 10 months or so, they've had numerous ways where you can get things for free that you wouldn't be able to get for free normally, and they've also had many other good offerings out there that would normally cost you around $30, but all you need to do is play the content going forward, and that just fits nicely in with the monetization model. There are other areas that need improvement still, but I'm going to pass this off to Sirion now because you wanted to take that head on.
Yeah, I mean, microtransactions have lived in games for longer than gamers being angry about it. I think that's a vital observation here. Because people are angry about microtransactions, but people are not angry about the existence of microtransactions. People are angry about the predatory tactics that game publishers are using to get you to spend more money. And that's the problem here. Like, some games go really far in this. If you look at most mobile games, there is psychology research being done to figure out what the best pace is to make you pay the most money. That's how far they will go. Like, this whole game industry thing has turned into something of how can we pull the most money out of a player. And sadly, the answer is predatory tactics. And that is what people have started picking up on, because games are no longer about making something that players will enjoy and put money in if they want to support it further and get more into it. It's more into like one of these milking cows And you see this especially, like, the big thing that blew up was the Star Wars Battlefront 2 game, which it's extra problematic because, first of all, it's a sequel, so you have people that are fans of the game series. It's a franchise, so you get people that are, like, fan of the franchise playing it. So these people come into this game, like, because they like the franchise or the previous game, and instead of being given a good game, they get given this awful predatory experience where the developer is just trying to pull as much money out of these dumb players that only come there for Baby Yoda. They will pay to play with Baby Yoda as a character, right? Like, that was sort of the approach, and I think that is something that players caught up on and got angry about, and rightly so. And I don't think...
they only delivered, part of a game, and
exactly.
You had to buy the,
exactly.
and tied your leveling and progression to it was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was just like the sin, I think, that broke the camel's back. And like what you're saying, it brought so many extra eyes on it that wouldn't have been there had it been probably any other franchise for that matter. Like, but Star Wars is just so big. I think it changed.
I do think there's another side to this, right? Where I think players get stuck in being angry too much.
Yep.
Because, this ties into my Informer article of last month. Please read it.
Very good.
It is
Informer.rsbnb.com.
It's called Addicted to Anger.
It wasn't last month. It was a week and a half ago.
Oh, well, okay.
Or 2 weeks ago.
I've been traveling in the middle. That's why it seemed longer ago. But basically, like, people are still hating on EA for that Battlefront 2 game, which is not entirely fair because they did come back from it. They did change it, and I'm not gonna say they're like angels now, but we should not. We should hold game publishers and game developers accountable, but we should also be able to forgive them if they then come back and fix it. Which is why, taking this back to RuneScape, I think it is really important that we give Jagex now the chance to try out these new monetization methods in the form of Yak Track, and don't immediately shoot it down because it is microtransactions. I think that is maybe something that needs to settle down. But I think it is a problem with the internet as a whole that there is like this group push to be angry, and sort of this anonymity makes it so easy to be angry and to not give up on something, because once you're angry, it is easy to stay angry. So
you're entirely right on that, and that was the whole point of your article there, just summarized. And I think players need to be aware of that, and this leads nicely into Tycho's next question. He's wondering that if by paying for cosmetics that players know they donated was for a good cause, what would your opinion be if the same was done about game updates or priorities within the companies? So, for instance, using the Mental Health Awareness Week as a blueprint, make the connections between bonds and successful updates such as a player-owned farm, the clue scroll overhaul, and elite dungeons, and see how this could really bring a new light onto players about players who buy with IRL money, who are bringing forward the game instead of being pay-to-win people. And, I don't know that it's as simple as that, because everything from a microtransaction goes into a general company revenue. Cash flow, right?
I think, honestly, I kind of got the convincing people fatigue right now. I don't know if it's because I'm American or what, but I'm so tired of trying to convince people.
Right, and like, there'll be times that I do that, but I'm, by and large part, finished with doing that on this show, because we have the examples given with Yak Track and the Treasure Hunter change that there are things going to be tried going forward with this, and the emphasis just needs to be made that the players need to be brought along with the changes that the company Jagex in this way is making. But with that being said, there are times where I will need to do that convincing part, and one of those ones was the microtransaction week stream, which, we presented in a different way. And I think getting that out there to the players, that was our form of convincing. But we're not going to do that each and every week because, quite frankly, like you said, we're beyond that. We're looking forward to the future on this. And it's not good to be addicted to anger.
No, and it's easy to get addicted to anger. Don't go with the dark side, people. Stay away from the dark side.
Oh, my God.
Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
There you go. I think that's a good way to sum Tycho's question up. Thank you so much. All right, moving on to our Skill of the Month competitions we got right now. Our farming competition is going. It's been going for 1 day so far. Currently, we have 7 people signed up. Shiro from Clan Quest is in first with 1.3 million farming XP gained. Second is 12 Gauge RS with 369k, and third is Rippeth with 58,000. Then we also have the Herblore competition that begins on December 5th at game time reset. So, I mean, this is probably a big ask of people to spend money on Herblore after Double XP weekend. But if you want to compete in Herblore, with it being one of the revamped skills, go for it. Sign up. I realize that's a hard ask, but hey, it's a community competition.
Gonna do it anyway, probably. Also do it this week.
Yeah,
right?
There you go. There you go. And that one runs until December 12th. We kept that short, so it'll only be a week. So. All right. Let's start off with our achievements, shall we?
Okay, hold on. I'm going to need a drink. We'll get this started.
Yeah, we do have a lot of them, and for what it's worth, we have condensed it down from our normal format just to make it readable.
Just to make it readable.
All right. Take us away.
Okay.
Guys.
All right. We start with Kosov 0, 120 and 200 mil something. But yeah, 120 and 200 mil. Alex Peaks with 299s. We've got Chodo 3000 with 120 smithing. We got Coded Ninja with 399s. Wow. We have Comp Psy with 120 summoning. We have Crying Wolf with 399s. We have CYP Debo. Going with that. With 99 construction. We have Dammy with 99 fletching. We have Darth Marf with 499s. Wow. We have Derpa Nish with 120 Herblore.
What a time. What a week. What a time to spend so much on that.
Oh, wow. Dr. Bruce with 299s, and Elvin Badass with another 299s.
All right, Sirion, you're up.
We have Yak Track, who got a 120 and a 200 mil. We have Jammy Jenny, who got 299s. Kazunda getting 299s. Lana Ikea got 399s. I bet one of them is construction with all that furniture. Laurie Soros must be 499s. That is impressive. Legion 1943, 120 Dungeoneering. Leetier Man got 99 Slayer. Love Natural got 99 Attack. Merovech got 99 Divination. Minority got 299s. Moondragon X got 599s. Wow.
Ooh.
And Peachy Reborn got 399s. That's a lot of 99s.
And you, of course, leave me with the next ones to start up. Some Star Wars reference. R3PO with 299s. Rippa06 with 120 fire making, Santa Ends with 120 ranged, Schnetz with 99 attack, SW Martin with 4 99s, Taffing Spy with 2 99s, Takis Fugo with 99 crafting, Thieves with 120 smithing, Tommy B with 120 dungeoneering, Truly a Weeb with 4 99s, Wiki86 with 99 fishing, X Gwen Yvar X with 6 99s, 6,
Woohoo.
and Z with 120 Herblore. Nicely done, everyone. Nicely done.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
All right. So, Sirion, Black Friday, what do you got for pick of the week?
Blick of the week. Yeah, no, sure. I'm trying to come up with a good example. Have you ever seen these images where you get like these promotional images where there's like 3 cogs of like 3 systems that are supposed to work together, right? Like leadership, collaboration, and happiness or something like that.
Sure.
Have you ever seen one of those images? Well, the fun thing is, if you have 3 cogs that are interlocking, they don't actually move, because that's not how cogs work. And it turns out that there were a lot of mistakes like that, like math mistakes, and a book by Matt Parker called Humble Pie. That is Pi I, not the sweet stuff. It's a book full of mistakes, basically, that happened in maths. They are from weird images to, why you sometimes see stars inside the moon where they should really not be, or they are about why a rocket explodes in midair sometimes. It's all kind of interesting mistakes, and I mean, it's you don't have to be a mathematician to read this. It's really well explained. It's really brought to an understandable level, even to somebody who's not introduced to this area. But it really gives some insight in some of the processes involved in, software engineering, for example. One of the chapters actually brought me back to a discussion we had on a recent bit where we talked about game development. Sort of explaining what programming is, and this book tries to do some of that as well, and explain why certain mistakes are being made. And I mean, most of these are pretty funny to read and sort of to explain why they are. So yeah, I definitely recommend reading it. I think it is both very funny, most of the stories that is, not all of them. Some of them are quite serious. And very educational at the same time, if you want to sort of understand the processes that are involved in computing, engineering, chemistry, you name it. And the book is written by Matt Parker, who also has a YouTube channel, who is a stand-up mathematician is how he calls himself, because he does comedy and maths. So, yeah, definitely worth a read for over the holidays.
Nice.
Right on.
And, the one I'm interested in is, how do you tie something from the Roman Empire into this?
Yeah, I forgot that, actually. I would have told you otherwise, but I think you'll have to buy the book and read it for yourself, Shane.
Alrighty, the link can be found.
When he said it was a book about mistakes, I thought we were talking about Trump's first couple of years. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But no, it wasn't. I know, Shane. It hurts, doesn't it? I'm coming off Thanksgiving. What can I do? I had to keep everything bottled up and away from relatives.
Link in the show notes at update.rsbnb.com. All right, what have we been up to? Let's start with you, Tennis.
I've been working thieving for the double XP, and I got Ralph, so that was cool. Yeah. So
how long did it take you to see this one?
I saw fireworks, and I was like, why the hell did I just get fireworks? Because I couldn't figure out any reason why, because I was safe cracking, and then so not as long.
Well, at least your inventory was hopefully empty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
that's really been it for RS this week.
Alrighty. As for me, double XP weekend wise, yeah, it's still going on, and I have about 22 hours left or so on it, so I'll use that this weekend. Probably not all of it, but I started off with some bamboo wood cutting, and then I did some protein cogs, and then I got into the farming pinch for the release of 120 farming and 120 herblore, which of course meant some big game hunter along the way, checking out all the new potions, doing some research along the way for that. Lots of herb farming runs, people. Fell stocks are still going for 16k each.
Wow.
That's on average about 1 mil per run.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Now I feel a bit silly doing Torstos.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, right? And I, for some reason, had 412 fell stock seeds piled up when they announced that. I'm down to 250.
Cool.
Well, that's where your 25 mil came from, huh?
That's right. That's right. But aside from that, Yak Track, hopefully we'll get into some double XP stuff this weekend. Is it fair to say that I find woodcutting really tedious?
That is absolutely fair to say, Shane.
In terms of the XP per hour that it gives? And
it is not the most exciting skill.
I was thinking of stopping at 40 mil and then just doing elders all the way to 120. Do like a bit of elders per day and call it that, and whenever we get there, because I don't know. I don't see them raising woodcutting to 120 soon.
Divine use, Shane.
Oh,
Divine,
okay.
Divine use at reset every day.
What about divine magics?
Well, that'd be great, but people don't put those up. They put divine use on.
Interesting. Okay, fair enough.
And if you can use your old jackhammer or chainsaw or whatever the hell it is,
and get the double XP off that, right? Okay, fair enough. Sirion?
Yeah, I was traveling until last Tuesday, actually. So I started double XP weekend late. Still have like 32 hours left. Not going to get through them. I have not been trying to optimize for it anyway. I've been doing my farm, like player-owned farm. I've checked out the new Ranch Out of Time. But yeah, I've been using the time to do some more fire making. I got up to 109 fire making now, so I'm making some decent progress towards 120. Don't ask me
get
why.
A pitch can and burn elders.
I should, except for that would feel like burning my money pouch directly. So, unless you go start cutting them every day and sell them at a very big discount. Anyway. That's basically been it. I will probably start picking up on some of these Yak Track tasks once.
It's so good. It's so good.
Double XP weekend is out. I'll probably try and be a bit sort of strategic about it.
Try and do them on your phone, maybe.
Yeah, perhaps. Not really.
Uh-oh.
I can't say that mobile is that good of an experience to do like long stretches like that, but it's definitely going to be useful during the advent calendar to at least log in daily, and quickly tap that box. But yeah, that's been it really. I've been pretty quiet. I have started doing some Slayer again. Sadly, It's not making me happy. But I need the points.
I should use my Slayer dummies this weekend.
Yeah, Slayer's the best.
Yeah, I have a lot of melee dummies, but I have all my combat skills where I want them, which is at 99 and not higher. So, yeah, we'll see. I wish I could convert them into Slayer dummies, but sadly not.
Right. Alrighty, folks. Well, that's it for this episode of RSBANDB Update. Thank you for being with us, and hopefully your harvests have been bountiful, and I guess we could also say for the Americans, the Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is around the harvest, but today is, of course, Black Friday. So that, of course, means we are into the holiday season. We'll be back next week with the Advent calendar and all of the other December goodies that come with it. So do watch and listen to RSBNB Update for that. And if you want to subscribe to the show, you can do that at update.rsbnb.com/subscribe. Any podcast listener out there, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, anything under the sun, YouTube as well, update.rsbnb.com/subscribe. And we'll see you guys next week for another RSBNB Update episode. Take care, everyone.
See ya.
See ya.